It is going to be a great call today. We're going to get started here in about 60 seconds while everybody's kind of coming in from the waiting room. What I'd like you to know is when we're getting started here is that Grow Global, you're probably wondering maybe if it's your first time on here, why do we call it Grow Global? It's because it's open to all agents from all brokerages, from all backgrounds. And what we do here is we are all agents helping agents sell more property in less time so we can have more free time and ultimately have more fun and utilize real estate what it was made for, and that was to create freedom in your life and to build wealth. So we have a website. It's great. It's free. You can jump on there. I'm sharing the screen right now. And what you'll see is that on Mastermind Mondays at noon Eastern Standard Time, we have a topic. And today's topic we're going to get into here in just a second, but you'll notice we have all these different tabs. There's an events tab here. One thing I'd like to point out is if you're an expert in something, we'd love to hear from you. You can go here in the middle to click here to suggest a topic. Maybe you're an expert or you want to be on a panel. We'd love to have you and hear your insights. You're part of the country or world. We have people, international people that jump on here. We also have a Facebook page, of course. Here, we put a lot of announcements in here like that. You can join or you can invite somebody if you want them to get on there. And of course, we know you're real estate agents. Sometimes on Mondays, we're very busy and noon Eastern Standard Time may not work out for you. So of course we record it and we catalog them all on our YouTube page. We recommend you subscribe and click the notification bell there. And you'll see we have over 71 videos right now, each with a different topic, a different expert. You can go back and use that as a library to find out things. Really cool stuff. How to scale your business with a virtual assistant we had a couple of weeks ago. Strategic business planning sessions. Great stuff. We have real actionable meat and potato items you can take to grow your business. We also have a super great Instagram page. You can go ahead and you can follow on there. And of course, we do this thing on Zoom. So let's get back to what we're going to talk about today. We're going to get started right now. And so look, the NAR settlement. Ooh, everybody just shivered right there when I said it right out loud. There was a ton of fear and trepidation in the marketplace. And we're 60 days, believe it or not, can you believe 60 days have gone by post-NAR settlement? And you're going to hear from some champion agents today. They're going to be giving you key insights and future implications. So we've got top producing mega agents, Stephanie Gilezan, Will Johnson, Michael Mundey and Michael Higdon, all from different parts of the country, all with different backgrounds and experience levels. And they'll give the 60-second snapshot of themselves when they talk, just so you know who they are, what they're doing, and where they've come from. And you're going to hear today how these recent NAR settlements have impacted their real estate businesses. And they're going to give you a bunch of meat and potato items, tactics that you can take and use and implement into your business right now. Maybe you've hit a couple bumps in the road. We're going to have you save your best questions because today is going to be Stump the Panel. Oh, I can't wait for this part. You guys are going to throw your questions in here up to the end after each one of these have had a chance to talk. And we're going to hear from you. And maybe you have a tactic or a script or something like that you'd like to add. We're going to want to hear from you. We'll have you unmute and talk. Or if you're afraid to get on there and talk, you can always type in the chat and one of us will read it for you. So with that, I'm going to get out of the way and I'm going to go round robin here on my screen the way it appears. We're going to start with Stephanie Gilezan. Stephanie will tell you a little bit about herself, but the one thing that I love is she started her real estate business in the 1900s, just like States. She started when she was 5 years old, and she's been doing real estate for a while here. And she's going to start with us talking about the NAR settlement. She's in the commercial space, but she has a huge monster team of residential agents also. So you're going to want to listen to what she has had to say. Stephanie, take it away.
You know, thanks, Jim, and welcome back. He's been in the Caribbean, folks, for 2 weeks. So if you tuned in, you missed him the last couple of weeks. But no, this is an important meeting today, you all, because if you have been tuning into Grow Global for the past several months, we were talking about this NAR settlement leading up to this. And we were telling you, who cares? It's not going to be a big deal. And why is that? Because Jim's right. I've been doing real estate since 1999. And since 1999, I know what my value is. And what this NAR settlement did for me is give me the ability to tell every single one of everybody out there what my value is, right? And it's just an even playing field as far as where it goes of making sure that every single buyer has to sign one of those agreements, right? And what I charge as my compensation is what I charge for my compensation. It's who it is. It's what I can do. It's who I am. And I love, and I think that this industry has needed this for a very long time. It's how commercial real estate has been done, and residential real estate needed to do this. And so I'm excited for today because we've got an amazing panel that is going to talk through every inch of this, and it's going to be amazing. So Jim, let's get the rest of the panel to introduce themselves.
I love that fact, Stephanie, that you said you've been doing this in the commercial space since the beginning, since you started, and you've built an awesome business down there with that. And I think you're the #1 commercial person there in Louisville, Kentucky. Hopefully I said it right this time and not Louisville. And people know I'm a foreigner when I go down there, and they know I'm not from the area when you say it that way. But Will Johnson out of Nashville, Tennessee. Will, if you could unmute and give everybody kind of your stats and how long you've been in the business, and let everybody know what you've been doing 60 days post-NAR settlement.
So yeah, I've been a real estate agent for about 10 years. Yeah, I've been featured on CBS Money Watch, written a couple articles for Business Insider, and yeah, just learning and growing. But I have to say something before we get started here. I was one of those people that listened to you, Stephanie, on when you did that webinar. And I was one of the groups of people that was a little bit, I wouldn't say terrified, but there was some anxiety. And after listening to you lay it out, that was the first time that it clicked for me that this could actually be a good thing. And it gave us, our team, a little bit of a running head start to make some of the changes, practice some of the scripts, really get in the driver's seat for when this change came up. And I just want to thank you and thank this group. Like, you guys made a huge difference in our business. And this last 60 days has been some of the best 60 days we've ever had as a team. And it's because of the prep work. So I really appreciate the knowledge that this channel brings and the wisdom to help make us all better.
Great job, Will. Did you want to share maybe some scripts or tactics or things like that that you've been using with buyers and sellers? Because I think maybe sometimes, especially in these masterminds, right, you get the experts talking, but maybe some people have been in business less than 5 years and they may not have that confidence, that air of confidence that Stephanie has, or something like that. What are you using out there that people could cut and paste into their business?
Yeah, so I think so let's start with the sell side first. So I like to work with human nature instead of against human nature. And so people want to get paid, right? And so um working with on the listing side, when somebody brings you an offer, and you're countering back, and they're trying to get the best deal that they can for their client, the buyer. And so one thing that we've had a lot of success with is to just use the phrase, hey, our seller wants to pay you the full 3%. This is the last counter that we can give you at the full 3%. Anything below this counter, we'll have to make an adjustment to your commission. We don't want to do that, but this is the last counter that we can give before we've got to make an adjustment to that commission. And we haven't had one come back yet out of probably 25 deals so far where that was, it went any lower than that. So we're finding that we're able to net higher numbers for our sellers by using that phrase. So, and for the buyers, I mean, it's just having that conversation up front with the buyers to say, hey, this is what's going on. They're going to try to make you pay a portion of this 3% commission. And so Mindy Abshar, who's probably the top rock star on our team right now. I mean, she negotiated a deal yesterday, and they were like, this seller's been selling property for 8 years, and 2.5% is all that they've ever given. So we went back to the buyer and said, look, they're trying to make you pay, $1,000 out of your pocket by having you pay this 0.5% commission. And in the counter, it was non-negotiable, and she ended up getting the full 3%. So I love it. I love it because if you can hone in on this and really get a good skill level, it can completely transform your commission and I think the client satisfaction. You can prove that you're an expert in this field.
I love that, Will. We always say here, co-op is short for cooperate, right?
Mhm.
Agents are supposed to be cooperating and treating each other fairly and things like that throughout that. So that is great insight. I love it. And then also from a negotiating standpoint, you pointed that out with the seller. That's a great script on that with the sellers back and forth with the counter offers. I love it. Makes things go even a little smoother when you do that
Yeah,
from
it's
there.
just amazing how, they all of a sudden that's the last counter that we get, and the sellers have been really happy with that.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to go next to Michael Higdon. And Michael, I'll have you unmute and tell everybody what market you're out of and a little bit your experience in real estate. And then what's been going on with this NAR settlement? Shed some insight with everybody.
Sure. I'm 21 years in business. I'm here in the same market with Stephanie Gilezan, Louisville, Kentucky, the home of great bourbon and fast horses, Kentucky Derby. And with that analogy, the first thing we can look at is, the horses, they have to wear these things called blinders sometimes. And they use that to keep them from being distracted by other horses that they're racing against. It's a protection so that they don't, look around and get spooked. That's kind of what I'm doing in the business right now, is like, I'm going to keep these blinders on because there's so many agents out there running around that, one, don't have the background and the backing that we do here at EXP. They think the sky is falling. I'm just, I kind of ignored what was going on with the changes that was going on. I said, you know what, I'll someday when I'm not busy, I'm going to go sit down and look at that before the deadline comes around and figure out what I've got to do. And then looked at the guidelines real quick, and I was like, okay, so that changes. It's a shell game. Everything changes, but it hasn't changed. You just have to tell people how you're, compensating them now, and then educate the sellers on how they have to compensate them now. So that's kind of what I've stuck with. I mentioned bourbon as well. People drink during good times. People drink during bad times. And the same thing with houses. People are going to sell houses during good times. People are going to sell houses during bad times. You go and look on your MLS, and if somebody says, well, nothing's selling right now, I'm not going to have my house on the market during the Christmas or the holiday season. Say, wow, really, Mr. Seller, did you know that over 800 houses sold just last year during the month of December, or however many in your particular market? If you knew you could be one of those houses on the market right now and actually have less competition when you're trying to do that, would you still want to wait till January when you could lose thousands of dollars because your competition is greater? Or would you want to know more about that selling right now?
I love it. That script is gold. And for those of you who didn't catch that, just, we are recording this and that will be on YouTube. You can take that back, rewind it on YouTube, and memorize that, what Michael just gave you there. He dropped some knowledge on you there. Go ahead, brother. Keep going.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things that I'm really keying in on, and I do this anyway, and for other agents out there, whether you're new, whether you're older, is to really key on life events right now, because these are things that people will have to move. You have the looky-loos and maybe the people that have tested the market out the last 6 months. October 1 is traditionally one of the largest expired days of the year from the people that sign on during the spring. But what I'm doing is being more intentional about my attention, meaning if you're on social media at any capacity, if you make a lot of calls to your past client sphere of influence, and you're scrolling down and somebody says, hey, we're having a baby. Oh, that's great. Congratulations to them. Or kids are going off to college for graduation. Oh, that's great. Congratulations. I can't believe they're that old. Stop. Wait a minute. They're having a baby. Call them. Hey, do you have enough? I saw you guys are having a baby. First of all, congratulations. Do you have enough space there? I know your family's growing. Are you going to have to move soon? We had a death in the family, probates and estates. I know a little bit about that. Taught a class on it. You can go back and look at it on the Grow Global site. Look for people that may have lost a family member. Do they have a house that they have to sell? Did you get married? Are you joining houses? Does your new spouse, do they have a house that they're going to have to sell this since you're joining families now? Divorce. Is there a divorce going on? I've had a couple that got divorced. I sold that house for them, sold them each a house. Then they figured, you know what? We still like each other. They got married again. I sold both of those houses, and I found them a new house. I had 4 transactions. And I said, now listen, you guys, if you don't like each other, just give me a call and I'll sell you this house again. So just some quick things to think about in this changing market.
Nothing like a good divorce to get 3 transactions out of it and then have them remarry again. Well done. That's I love that. I used to say that. So that's great. We're going to be coming back around. So if you're logging on later, then the start. So what we're talking about today is post-settlement, the NAR settlement. 60 days out, believe it or not, already. And these people are sharing with you, these experts are sharing with you what's going on in the marketplace with them. What are they seeing? What's been the bumps? What's been the bruises? Has it been catastrophic for them so far? The answer is a resounding no. It's actually been better for their business. And you're going to get some tips, tricks, and tactics here you're going to be able to use. But what we're looking for from you here in just a little bit is, let's hear some stumbling blocks you've had. Let's hear some successes you've had. What's working for you? We're going to have some audience participation here in a little bit, and we're going to play Stump the Panel. We're going to have you try to stump the experts here and have them respond to maybe, hey, how would you handle this situation? Things like that. So we're going to move on to another Mike, Michael Mundey on here. Now, I know Mike's, I'm going to have him unmute. I know his stats because he's here in Columbus, Ohio, works with Stacy and I, but Mike is currently the number 7 real estate agent in the state of Ohio out of 2,000 agents in his brokerage. And he's a new father of 2 under the age of 3 right now, Mike. Isn't that right? What's going on? So he's taking a no excuses attitude, but he's been in the business for just a couple years and is absolutely blowing through it. And Mike, let's hear some tips, tricks, strategies, your ups, your downs with this NAR settlement.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Nice to see everybody out here again. Like he said, I've been in the business about 4 years. Well, I'm in my 4th year here now. But in terms of, what I've been seeing, what I've been doing, it's just become standard operating procedure for me. I haven't been in the business, as long as a lot of the folks on the panel here. So for me, it's, adjust and adapt and kind of and move on and overcome. So from the start, for me, I didn't get too hyper and too excited about it. I just kept my head down and kept working and grinding and knowing that whatever was thrown in front of me, I was going to find a way to, to overcome it and move forward in order to help my clients and do what they needed to do and get them into a new home or get their home sold, et cetera. So what I've been doing is literally approaching it as the just kind of the new MO. I let them know, hey, I'll be sending over the mandatory, buyer client forms that have to be on file before we get the search ramped up. So we're set up for success. And I kind of paint the picture to them that, this is the standard operating procedure. And I don't get a lot of pushback on it when I present it that way. I literally just try to paint a picture to them of, setting them up for success and finding the property they love and them being ready to go so that we don't lose out on opportunities. I think that resonates really well with most of the folks that I'm working with. And, I'll get into the weeds if I need to. I'll explain what I need to, but I think it's the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid, to a certain degree, because you could go down the rabbit hole and there's just a lot more than a lot of our clients, they look to us as the experts and, they don't necessarily have the time or the bandwidth to dig that deep. They may have heard something about it. And you can clarify, yep, you know what, things have changed a little bit. We just need to disclose things a little bit differently. It's all about transparency. This is a great thing. You paint it like it's the next best thing since sliced bread for them, for you, for everyone involved in the equation. And I seem to be getting good responses, with that.
I agree with you, Mike. I think the less is more philosophy is a great way because, in fact, I'm kind of convinced that if agents would stop talking about it on public forums, the public wouldn't know any difference any better. They would just, because they only do this, once every 5 to 8, maybe 12 years, they would just
Right.
come in, they'd just sign it and they would move on. It's kind of like trying to read the mortgage. You can tell people, go ahead, you can read the mortgage, but if you don't sign it, you don't get the house. So you're welcome to sit there and read it for the next hour, but it's just, it is what it is. And I don't know about other people's states. I'd love to hear about other people in other states, but Ohio did us a favor and actually put it in the Ohio Revised Code, made it
Right.
a law. So literally it's illegal if you don't do it. So I just tell people that, look, it's the law. I've just got to do it. And people are going to do that. A quick anecdote. We had a client contact us on the internet, wanted us to drive an hour to go show them a house in the beautiful area of Ohio called Hocking Hills. If you've never been there, you should come visit. It's great, beautiful. It looks like you're in the Grand Canyon. But they wanted us to come show us this house. We said, look, we need you to sign this document before we come down there. And it saved us a trip because we ended up finding out their agent was just on vacation. They were trying to get us to come down and unlock a door for them. And they had no intention of ever using us. They were going to use their agent, but their agent was just out of town. And so it actually saved us a trip from going down there, and then the frustration of them ghosting us later and things like that, because they would not sign the document. And guess what? We did not go. And it ended up saving us a trip on that. So we'd love to hear, by the way, any of your anecdotes that those of you who might have successes, failures that we can learn from, right? The best things you can learn from is other people's mistakes. And it helps us grow, right? Than learning from your own mistakes. Also questions. I know you guys out there have questions. A lot of times you're shy a little bit on this thing. You can type it in the chat box if you want, and one of us will read it, or you're welcome to unmute or raise your little hand on the little icon down there, and we can play Stump the Panelists on it. Kim Campbell has a question. Kim, did you want to unmute, or do you want one of us to read it for you? Go ahead and read it. All right. So Kim Campbell says this: how do each of the panels handle these two questions? So we'll go round robin on again, same order. Two questions. Number one question: do I have to pay you X amount of money? And then question number two: I don't have the money. I do not want to add it to the sales price. Well, you can tell Kim's been doing business for a long time. She started when she was 2 years old too. So we'll start with you, Stephanie. How would you answer those two questions if you were hit with those directly? And then we'll go through the panel, same order.
My fee is 3%, and I don't work for a penny less. Same effort, same time, and that's my fee.
Tonality, confidence, short and sweet. No room for negotiation, no stuttering, no dancing around it and say, well, right? You just go, bam, you hit it, and you've got it memorized right between the eyes, and you move forward. Love it. We'll go next. Will Johnson, how about you with those two questions?
Yeah, so I think the first one, you can really use that to your advantage. I mean, I was able to flip a client who was going to sign with a friend of his. He was actually the guy that cuts my hair and was going to use somebody else. And I was like, do you understand now, because of the new laws, it's not as kind of, people used to always think the buyer's agent was free. It's not that way anymore. And I was like, do you like your friend enough that if he's not able to negotiate for the seller to pay that $15,000, do you like him enough to write a check? Or do you want somebody strong enough to be able to negotiate where you've got a very strong, somebody who has a very strong track record of getting the seller to pay the buyer's commission, because I can show you that. And so he, I've decided he didn't like his friend as much, and to write that check, and, decided to go with our team to work with him as a buyer. So, so yeah, I mean, I think acknowledging it to say, yeah, I understand you want to net as much money as possible, but I agree with Stephanie. I think that keeping it short, keeping it simple, and just keeping the tone there. And remind me what the second question was. I apologize. I think you're muted, or maybe I just can't hear you.
It's like sometimes they like,
Yep.
oh, I just don't want to, when we say, if we couldn't get it to the seller to do it, then we'll put it added to the sales price. Like, oh my God, I don't want to do it, too.
Yeah, and so I think my answer to that would be, I understand. And just like before these rules came into effect, if you don't like what the complete package or what you've got to come to the table with, then you don't have to sign. Like, we don't, if we can't get to a number that you're happy going to the closing table with this much cash or paying this much for a house, if ultimately you aren't happy with the deal, I'm the one taking all the risk, because I'm working for free until I can get you something that you're happy with.
Love it. That's great. Great answer on that. Michael Higdon, let's hear how about those questions? Do I have to pay you a certain percentage? And then the other one, I don't have the money. I do not want to add it to the sales price. How do you handle that?
Yeah, I'd say one, if somebody's bringing up a discount type of service, there's a lot of desperate agents out there, aren't there, Mr. Seller? Do you want to risk the equity in your home, or go over, pairing up with an agent that maybe doesn't have the 21 years of experience that I may have? There's a reason I'm sitting down with you here at the table, is because you agree I can get your home sold for higher amount of money, and perhaps even put more money in your pocket at the closing table. We charge 3%. Why don't we go ahead and sign the contract and get busy with that?
The old embedded command right there at the end, the CTA, call to action right then. Why don't we, instead of why don't you, why don't we? We're doing it as a group. I love it, man. It's great.
Here's the pin. Take the pin.
That's great psychology. Press hard. The third copy is yours. There we go. We used to say that's old school days back.
Third copy. That's
when we had carbon copies back in the day. The youngsters on here would be like, "What's a carbon copy? Never heard of that." Anyways, hey, Michael Mundey, what are you doing, man? You've got a couple of years experience under your belt here, and you're knocking it out of the park doing a bunch of sales. But are you getting these questions? And if so, how would you handle those?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're part of the conversation now, especially, because it's very clear we have to get the buyer broker representation signed, which I was doing from the start. So that wasn't a habit that I needed to change. Just the document itself is a little bit different now. So at any rate, if they say, do I have to pay you any money or X amount of money? I think was that the first question or the second question?
Yep, both questions. Go ahead. Just keep rolling with it. You're good. I don't have the money and I don't want to add it to the sales price. How do you handle that?
Yeah. So I mean, I tell them what my fee is, and it's, professional service fee. And, that's just kind of matter of fact what it is. In terms of, do they have the money to pay it or do they not? I essentially tell them, look, when we are reviewing, properties that work for you, we will know in advance. We will know as we negotiate. You will know what you're going to be responsible for, of that total amount. Yes, you're on the hook for it at the end of the day. But like someone mentioned earlier, I'm the one taking all the risk here, because if we don't find a property that fits and will work for your needs, then I'm the one working, essentially for free. And I don't like to work for free. So I'm going to work as hard as it takes to find that property for you that will work. So we may find a situation where, the seller's absolutely able and willing to cover that. So it's a non-issue. We may need to negotiate it, and we may need to, add some terms and conditions that allow for that. And as long as we do, everybody's happy at the end of the day, and we move on down the line. So I haven't had a situation where they won't sign it because they have to sign it, and I'm not having them sign one at some discounted number, compensation amount, or zero. I don't even know if that's an option, but it's not an option for me. So they're signing it and they know what it's all about. And in terms of adding it to, they don't want to add it to the, into the equation for, bumping the purchase price up to get seller concessions, etc. I think that letting them know, negotiating the big picture is what matters at the end of the day. And if I'm able to, get them into a better situation by negotiating the purchase price, down some, etc., then they're probably going to be more willing to roll with it and effectively not come out of pocket for the compensation, but having it kind of in the deal. I think everything is, I guess, about how you word it. But at the end of the day, I always tell my clients that, hey, this is a big investment. This is something you do every 3, 5, 8 years. And I'm here to guide you. I'm the professional that's going to make sure it's smooth and you get to the closing table and I hand you the keys. And when I do, you're going to take a deep breath and you're going to be happy that, that you had me along for this journey. And, don't get the tunnel vision of looking at like, well, but I got to pay this much, or it doesn't happen, because at the end of the day, you don't want to lose a house you love that's going to create so many memories for you in the next however many years with you and your family, over, what amounts to, a small drop in the bucket compared to the investment you're making. So
I love it. And a good reminder that you pointed out in there also is the fact that, look, I'm not just trying to be your real estate agent right now in this. I want to be a real estate agent for life. And for those of you who are younger, getting started and things like that, you start getting, 20, 25, 30 years under your belt. Some of these people you will sell 5, 6, 7 houses to. And what is the value of that client acquisition and being able to build that relationship with them on this deal, right? Where I'm going to negotiate my fee in negotiate my fee with the seller, right? So I'm not adding it to the price, I'm negotiating with the seller for you. And, you know, I'm planning on being here for you for life. And I want to build a relationship with you and help not just you, but your family, your friends, and things like that. So let's get together and knock this thing out of the park and work together on it right now. So that's great. Next question we have. I love the fact our masterminds get some newer agents on here. Tatiana Eagle's on here. She's just licensed in the last couple of months. And she has a question. And this is a great one. My question is, what would be, and we'll go in the same order with the panel, but what would be your greatest advice to your younger self starting out in the real estate industry? So we're going to roll all the way back to the 1900s with Stephanie Gilezan here. And your advice to your younger self when you just started in real estate, if you could give yourself some advice way back then, what would it be? And we'll go right through the panel again.
Well, number one, practice what you're going to say to people on other people so that you have confidence and you don't stutter. When sellers or buyers come back on you, I want you to be able to answer that question with full authority without being able to stumble. Because here's what you need to learn how to do, okay? One, be able to ask your seller and your buyer, what do they do for a living and how are they compensated? And how do they earn their living? Be able to ask that question because it's fair, right? Because you are going to be speaking to them about how you earn your living. So be able to have that conversation with them, because let me tell you, when you turn that table onto them, it is so much easier for them not to discount you. And that's what you need to be able to master. And those that can master that early on, I don't care what experience you have in selling real estate. It is that conversation right there that makes you a winner in society. And that's a truth. So you start to master that conversation, and that is the art of negotiation, period. Okay? And then you start to learn that. You start to learn the real estate behind that. Now, second, I want to add to that. Second is to be able to tell the story. And what I mean by that is the success stories as to what backs up why your rate is. So like for me, when a buyer calls me and says, Stephanie, we want you to show us this property, or we want you to find us this type of property. I say, okay, well, you're going to sign an exclusive buyer representation and compensation agreement, because I don't work alongside of a bunch of other agents, number one. Number two, it's going to have a fee of 3% or more, depending on what I'm hunting for. And if they don't want to sign it, I don't work for them, period. I'm not going to waste my time. But I explain my value if they don't know me. If they're calling me and questioning, well, why is that? Well, then I'm explaining my value by telling them a success story of why they want to hire me. It's that negotiation of, well, let me tell you where I represented Jamie Parker on this transaction and I saved him $433,000 because this is what I've mastered. This is how I represent you. Those are the things you have to be able to do. Okay. And so, but first is to be able to have the conversation of, well, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller or Mr. Buyer or Miss Buyer, let's talk about what you do for a living and how your compensation works. And I want you to be able to have it with the straightest face because it's your right. Okay.
I love it. So role play with other agents, find a partner and role play. You're going to get the same 6 questions, maybe 6 to 12 questions, but basically the same 6 basic ones. And you need to be able to answer them with the tonality and the confidence and just memorize it and be ready. Just be ready for the question. And as it's coming out of their mouth, you'll be sitting there like, yeah, baby, you're getting ready to get it right here, right? Because you've got it memorized and ready to go. That's what I would do and would work on that. I love that, Stephanie, that you say that. Will Johnson, how about you? If you go all the way back 10 years ago to when you first started, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Yeah, so I think for a new agent, people do business with people that they like and trust, right? Like there's a reason why whatever state you live in, not all the business goes to whoever the #1 agent is in that state. So if you can form a relationship, ask some questions about who they are, really get to know, what their why is, because the reality is moving sucks, right? Like moving sucks. So why are you get to the root of why they are wanting to go through all of the pain of moving, whether they're a buyer, whether they're a seller, how it's going to benefit their life. Tom Ferry has something out, the 40 top objections. I would really learn those, but I think going back to when I start my real estate career, there's so much that you don't know. There's so much unconscious incompetence and I mean, I'm still learning like crazy, right? So 10 years in. So if I had just one piece of advice, my personal recommendation would be you either need to join some sort of a mastermind group with people that are, something similar to this, but it could be, where you're meeting with more experienced agents to learn from them, or to join a team for a period of time, maybe a year or 2 years, to be able to learn from other people's mistakes and just jump your learning curve. So, I mean, you either are watching a ton of YouTube videos or some, but I think being around another group of people, because it's not just about the knowledge. I mean, you're not going to have as much success, most people, year one as you do year 10. So just having that group of people to encourage you, to to keep you going, to let you know, hey, that you can do it. So surrounding yourself with the right group, whether it's a teen mastermind group, learning those objections, and just whoever you meet with, be likable, and you'd be surprised how many people will do business with you just because of that. But market knowledge also will beat experience. So if you're focusing on certain neighborhoods or a certain city, if you know your information, people won't care that you haven't sold a house or even asked the question. So those would be my nuggets.
I love it. Never be the smartest person in the room. And will you do us a favor and put in the chat box that Tom Ferry book that you're talking about with the 40 objections that are in there on that?
Yep.
I think that would be great, super helpful for a lot of people to take a look at that. Michael Higdon, go all the way back 21 years to when you first started. If you could talk to well, you're already young, but younger Michael Higdon, what would you tell him? What advice would you give?
There's three things I thought of off the top of my head. Number one is as soon as you can, hire a coach or find a great mentor to go after. That doesn't mean you have to pay them. Some people are strapped on money if they're just new to the industry. But go, as Will was mentioning, there's tons of resources and assets that we have here as a company. Find a top producing agent, whether it's in your area, or even better, find one that's not in your area. Go visit them, shadow them for a day, and steal all their great information, because they'll give it free because they're not competition if they're outside their area. I used to do that. My first year, I drive up to see an agent friend of mine, Denise Swick, who's in the Dayton area, and I would get great information from her. So first, hire a coach or a mentor. Second, be consistent on everything that you do, especially on the days that you don't feel like doing it. And I say feel like, it's like, I'm a realtor, I'm an independent contractor. I don't have to do it. I only report to myself today. No, you have to become your own worst boss. That's going to tell yourself in the morning, I have to do my job today, which is either get on the phone for 2 or 3 hours, make contacts consistently, do some kind of posting, whatever you do to generate your business. You have to do that every single day consistently, and that's where your numbers are going to show up. And number three is there's an old saying that says replace fear with faith and replace worry with work. You have to become an expert in blind faith, meaning there's going to be months, there's going to be days when you're not going to have a paycheck in this business. We don't have paychecks. We have pay spurts is what we get as realtors. So you just have to know that when you feed that into the slot machine of life, one day it's going to pay out if you're putting the numbers in.
Love it. One of the best parts of real estate is we get to be our own boss. One of the worst parts about real estate is we get to be our own boss. That can be, we sometimes are too easy on ourselves. So I love it. Great stuff on that, Michael Higdon. Michael Mundey, younger self from just 4 short years ago. What would you tell him? Some advice.
Wow. I feel like 4 years ago I was a lot younger. Now I have 2 kids under 3. I got a lot more gray hairs, I feel like. But yeah, for sure. You know what? You learn so much so quickly. You take everything that you've learned throughout your life, whether it was in school, college, etc., other professions, other jobs, and you know, a lot of it, if you boil it down, it's transferable. So I've relied on, you know, things that I've learned in my professional life, you know, prior to real estate, things that I've learned in my coaching and playing life. So, you know, as Jim alluded to earlier, I have a sports coaching and playing background, so I naturally tend to be comfortable in a role that's more of a coach type situation. And my motto has always been win fast, win slow, or lose fast. And I've transferred that into the real estate, you know, industry as well, into my business. And I think, you know, it's something that I just go back to, and it will save you time in the long run. If you're not building a foundation, you know, with a client and building that rapport, and, you know, there's a way for you to identify, is this going to be a win now in the near future or even long term? And that's okay. That's fantastic. But if there's, you know, like Jim said, they were able to identify that a client this weekend, they had a realtor. They literally were just looking for somebody to open a door for them. And that would have taken probably a minimum of 3+ hours out of their day. And what could they have done with that time if he hadn't asked the right questions and hadn't, you know, now we have even more, you know, a leg to stand on, because we can literally tell them, hey, this is the law here in Ohio. If they push back on it and say, you know what, I'm not jeopardizing my business, you know, my license, because we don't have the right documents in place that allow us to be set up for success. They're not willing to do it, then they're not. That's a lose fast. You know, that's a way to lose fast. So I would say that's something that I've gotten better at throughout my, you know, 4 years so far, in learning to identify, is this an opportunity or is this not? And like I said, it's okay if it's a long-term opportunity, but try to cut the ones that are just not going to be opportunities at all. And then, you know, build rapport and instill that confidence, because you may not think you know a lot, but you know a lot more than the person you're dealing with in terms, most of the time, you know, in terms of the clients that you're working with. They maybe haven't bought a house in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, maybe never. So in that regard, you are the expert. Set yourself up as the expert. You know, you've learned the things you've learned. You've gone through your licensure, and so you can be that professional expert that they're looking for, and instill that confidence in them that, hey, I'm here, I'm available. You know, if you have questions, communicate them. We'll make sure we get the answers. And you may not know all the answers, which I certainly don't, and I'm learning all the time. And when I run into something, I reach out and I find the answer. I think that's an important thing, is to know where you can find the answers you need, and be able to get them quickly, because time is of the essence, and you don't want a client out there wondering, does my realtor know what they're doing? They you know, they didn't have an answer for this, but if you circle back with us, say, hey, I just wanted to check into this, make sure, you know, some things have changed, and just let them know you're, you know, fully reviewing all their needs. So those would be that I would say.
Great answers from the panel. My advice to everybody would be this: work harder on yourself than you do on your business. You are the brand. You must become the type of person that is attractive to other people. Success is something you attract. It's not something you chase. And if you're newer in the business or newer as an entrepreneur, you need to have a early morning routine, a routine that you follow every morning, just like a professional athlete. You want to make professional athlete money? You've got to have professional athlete routines. And you need to work on yourself. If you don't have one and you want a guided one, I would recommend is a thing called the Miracle Morning. The Miracle Morning has 6 steps to your morning in a 1-hour period. Now, some of you are thinking, 1 hour? I don't have a 1 hour out of my day. Look, you need to make that time to spend time working on you. And it uses an acronym called the SAVERS acronym: silence, affirmations, visualizations, exercise, reading, and scribing, which is the same word as journaling. And there's a book on it. Get it, study it. If you don't already have one, use that and see if it jives for you. But you're going to build yourself to become the brand, so that when you do run into business, you're ready to go and you're the best version of yourself that they can have, and you will attract that business from there, regardless of the amount of experience you have. All right, let's move on to another question. So Kenneth Kenneth, you have a question that says, can anyone answer as a buyer-to-buyer agent convo? I'd love for you to unmute and tell us what that question means on there. And I don't know if you're looking to role play or something like that, because I think that would be great. So if you're there, Kenneth, still, if you want to unmute, and let's tell me a little bit what you're asking on that.
No, I'm kind of following up. Hi, how's it going, everybody?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm following up on Kim's question to be more pragmatic. The two questions that she posed were kind of direct. I can appreciate everybody's experience and everything, but in this new atmosphere, I think everybody needs to hear the nuts and bolts. The questions I perceived them as she asked them was, I'm sitting down across from a buyer, and the buyer actually, those are the two answers that the buyer gives me, the buyer agent. And then TT followed up with another question concerning the seller. Those are the two hardcore conversations that I wanted to hear, as you guys have experienced them, when the buyer says what they say and the seller says what TT said. I understand you just say no. Do you just say no and walk out the door? Or do you continue with a conversation to give them information and to instruct them, to pull them, in other words, to work them along the way? Because buyers are as unaccustomed to this as many of we are. You know, they're coming into this not understanding where they're going to get that extra money. So I really like Kim's questions. I would like to hear that buyer and buyer agent conversation that some of you guys have had sitting across the table.
So Kenneth, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have you pick one of our panelists, and you be the buyer. They're going to be the buyer's agent. And here comes the fun. Let's try to stump the panel. All right. So you pick one, Kenneth, and they'll unmute, and you ask them the question as if you're the buyer. And let's hear how they answer you, so everybody can hear a free flowing. Let's hear what it sounds like. Go ahead.
Okay,
pick one
who's game?
You pick. Just you pick. You get to put them on the spot, baby. Let's do it.
I don't know.
Let's go with Will Johnson. You hit Will,
Hey,
down
Will.
in Nashville, Tennessee. Fire away. You're the buyer. Will's the buyer's agent. Hit him with a question.
Hi, Mr. Agent. Now I'm the buyer, correct?
You're the buyer.
Yes,
You're the buyer.
Hi, Will. How's it going? How you doing? I appreciate you coming over to see me today. I'm really ready to go get into buying my house. Me and my wife looking for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. We've got our approval and everything done. But I'm kind of curious. What is this new law? What is this new law saying that as a buyer I have to pay? I now have to pay for to get you to work with me.
Well, there's not really a ton that's changed. I mean, that was always a possibility depending on, what the seller was offered. Like if we went to go see a for sale by owner, or if we went to somebody that wasn't offering a commission. Now, really what's changed is just the disclosures. So we've got to make sure that you're aware, which we should have been doing anyways, but now with it being law, that there is a possibility that you may have to pay for our services directly. So the benefit for you, with you and I sitting down right now, is that you're sitting down with an agent that is very, very good at negotiating. And you could say, I'm stepping back for a second, whether you're a new agent or whether you're an experienced agent, to say now it's the most important time to have somebody that's great at negotiating. And I'll tell you something. We've had there's been people out there that think maybe this is a good time to, see, hey, can I save a little bit of money and hire an agent with a little bit less, pay them a little bit less commission. This is the worst time to do that, because if somebody's so willing to give up their own commission, think how easily they'll give up, your money if they're giving up their own money. So that should be an automatic red flag. Like if somebody's sitting down and they're willing to give up some of their own commission, they are a terrible negotiator. If they can't negotiate for themselves, they're not going to be able to negotiate for you. So, but I'll tell you what, I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, if whatever, we'll find you the right house. That won't be a problem. And we'll negotiate a deal that you're happy with. And if you're not happy with it, in our buyer's rep agreements that we do for our team, we've got a 24-hour kickout clause. So if you don't want to work with me, you know, I don't want to force somebody to work with me. So there's no risk to you. If I can't get you the deal that you like, or you don't feel like I'm the person for the job, just let me know in writing, and within 24 hours, we'll release you from that buyer's rep agreement, and you'll be free to work with whoever you like.
Boom.
Hey,
Now, I don't know if you
Will,
guys caught that, but look, the tonality, the inflection, the rate of speech, very professional. And then at the end, the risk removal at the end takes away the risk and puts himself on the side of the buyer. I'm glad this is recorded because I'm going to go back and listen to that multiple times, Will, on that. I love how you pull away the risk. There's no risk to you. And this is business, just as it's been. And you also took on a little responsibility. You know, this is something we should have been doing, admittedly, from the beginning. But now there's just disclosure that spells it out. I love it. Oh, it's just so matter-of-factly laid out. Go ahead, Kenneth. I think I interrupted you.
yeah, no problem. Will, that's great, but the bottom line is, Will, I don't have the extra money. I got an FHA loan.
Yep.
I've been approved at 650 here in California, and you can imagine. So I don't have the Will, tell me, where am I going to get this extra money to pay you? Because I didn't have it in my budget. We have our down payment we've saved for 5 years, and I'm right there. I've got the numbers, but I barely have the numbers. Where am I going to get this extra money to pay you?
Kenneth, one thing I want to say is I appreciate your honesty, right? Because there's so few people that are willing to disclose a situation where they're putting somebody else at risk. You know, most people are very selfish, and I understand the risks that I'm taking on with this deal. You don't have the money in your bank account to come with any extra money to closing to pay my commission. So I understand that I've got to do an exceptional job of getting the seller to pay for all of my commission, or you're not going to be able to close on this deal. And I'm willing to take on that risk because I'm very, very good at what I do.
Wow, Will, you know, you sound like an expert to me. You sound like the guy I want to work with. The problem, Will, what if the seller says he won't give any concessions or compensation to take care of you? Where am I at that time?
One of the great things about hiring an agent, if you hire the right agent, those are things that you shouldn't have to worry about, right? Like there's nothing that you can lose if I'm the one, you know, I'm the one that has everything to lose, my commission. You're not putting any money on the line if I'm not able to negotiate the right deal for you.
Boom.
Well, go ahead. Go
No, I
on.
was saying, boom. That's a closer right there. That's
Yeah.
Put the pen in their hand and say, hey, let's go find you the right home. Right. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, Will, you're the man.
So everybody
So
on here is going to be replaying that. This is going to be the most replayed YouTube video we've ever had on the channel for that part right there. Right. How'd you like
yeah,
that, Kenneth? You
and
like
that's
that
kind of
response?
that's where Will took it, was kind of where I got from Tim's 2 questions, because of some buyers out here, they're just not we're in this crazy state called California, where $1 million homes are in South LA now. So and I don't
Yeah.
many of you may not know what South LA is. But anyway, that's when people are saving up to now buy into this new market. They hello.
Keep going, Kenneth. I muted
Yeah,
him. You're good. Keep going.
they're being hit with this new law that came into effect. They've been buying. They may have bought their first home, and they may have not, and there may be many first-time buyers. And this is all new to them. What do you mean? I have to come up with 20% down payment? Also have to come up with closing costs, and also have to pay you now? So I appreciate you, Will, because that's the conversation that I wanted to hear in answer to her 2 questions, because you have to guide them to where I'm going to work my best for you, but there's a point where, you know, it's a cutoff.
That was a great question on that, Kenneth. We're going to go to TT next on this one, because she's TT is Tamari Tarpley. She has a question regarding sellers. So we just talked about buyers, right? Which I think is a very legit scenario that Kenneth just had there that Will answered spectacularly. We're going to go to TT. She has a question regarding sellers who do not want to pay the buyer's agent's commission. She says, my latest listing, the seller would only agree to pay my compensation of 3%. How do you convince a seller to agree to pay something to a buyer's agent when agreeing to list a home? Who'd like to take this one? Will did a great job on the last one. We'll let Will's voice rest. Stephanie's got her hand up. She's chomping at the bit to go. She's got this one. Go ahead, Stephanie. Hit it.
No, I think TT, you probably took the listing, obviously, and you did the right thing, because here's what I say to a seller is I say, listen, seller, today you may not want to talk about the cooperating compensation or paying compensation to a buyer's agent, but here's the deal. We're going to look at every single offer that comes in on your property, and those may or may not include a compensation to an agent. Just so you're aware, I want you to keep your mind open to those terms, because that's the thing, you all. They don't want to think about it that day. And your job is to get yourself paid. That's your job. Your job is to take care of you. Same thing on a buyer's side. Your job is to take care of you. Okay, always remember that. And some of you might be thinking, well, gosh, Stephanie, that sounds awful greedy of you. No, it's not. Our job is to look out for us. We're in business for us. Okay, so when a seller says, I'm not paying a buyer's agent, that's right then and there, you all. Get the listing, get them signed off on your compensation, and deal with it when the time comes.
I love it. And for those of us who are more experienced, who are out there being listing agents, let's not get lazy when we're taking these listings. Let's, set some expectations if possible. But as Stephanie said, get the listing, right? I think I was taught in sales, get all you can on every deal, but get every deal.
Yeah.
And that's, I love it. So that's great. Let's see. Sylvia had a question. Says, to follow up on your process, if an agent is seeking their first client, how would they structure the success story with the client to get them to sign with them? So she had that question on there. So who wants to take that one? Sylvia had that question. Who wants to take that one? Go ahead, Will. Jump on it.
Yeah, so I think one of the benefits of being a part of this Grow Global group is you don't always have to use your own stories. You can use the stories of, hey, a mastermind group that I'm a part of, they did X, Y, and Z, but also just coming in with a little bit of it doesn't take you knowing everything. It can take you knowing just a couple things. So even just getting in the driver's seat of the conversation and saying, look, now with the new changes that have taken place, there's two things that I can negotiate for you. Not only help to negotiate to keep, the price as high as possible, but I also get to help negotiate the other agent's commission. So mine's going to be 3%. That's not negotiable, but I understand that you were, in the past may have wanted to do it for 5 or 4%. We may be able to get it down to that number, depending on, but if we're working with a really good buyer's agent who's bringing an absolutely phenomenal offer with, a pre-qualified client, we're just, we're in a position now where we can help them earn their commission. But I think, if it's your first deal, the bottom line is I would leverage the stories, because I'm big on facts tell, stories sell, to be able to tell some stories from other people within this mastermind group. So it doesn't have to be your own.
Right. We're going to respect everybody's time as we're wrapping up here at 1 o'clock, but we're going to finish the questions for the people that can stick around. It'll also be recorded if you need to come back. So if you got to jump. That includes the panelists. If you guys need to go at 1 o'clock, you can get out of here, but we're going to answer the rest of these questions on here as we go down through the chat on it. And it'll be recorded. So if you got to go, you can come back. Keep in mind, we do these masterminds every Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time. We have a website, we got a Facebook page, we got a YouTube page where we record it, and we also have an Instagram page. But I'm going to keep going here with the questions. If anybody's got to jump, feel free to jump. Don't be embarrassed. We respect everybody's time. We start on time and we end on time. But these are so good, we're going to keep rolling with them. So Brian Conrad says this. Here's a question for the panelists that can stick around. As a new agent, would you just recommend taking a hit on commission, no more than 1%, to close the deal? I did just that on my first deal. I'd rather my clients get into the home they want and not worry about paying the 0.5% difference. Who wants to take that one? Higdon, how about you? Want to jump on that one?
Yeah, I think again,
you have to remember back 20 years from when you were a new agent. But if you were just getting your feet wet and trying to knock out your first deal, what would you do?
It's going to be that's a case by case at the discretion of the agent himself. Because what I tell someone is, this isn't the only house I want to sell for you. I want to do such a good job for you that you remember me over the years and sell your kids lots of houses. At the same time, I want to be able to negotiate on your behalf to get you into this house. I was trying to read the premise of the question again.
Yeah, he gave up 0.5% on his commission to close the deal, to get it closed, because they were arguing over money between the seller and the buyer.
I mean, that's a tough question. I think myself personally, no, I don't take that hit just because I'm experienced like Stephanie. It's like, I think I have the value and the worth that I bring to the table on that. And when it comes down to it, if there's equity on the table with the seller, then I'm going to go back to the negotiating table, and I'm not leaving that on the table, me personally.
Yeah. I think I follow a guy. If anybody doesn't follow him on here, you may want to follow him. His name's Gary Vaynerchuk. Vaynerchuk. You just look up Gary V. He's if you're offended by the F-bomb, don't follow him, because he's a New York Russian and he just drops that every fourth word. But he has an interesting take on client acquisition. When you're trying to get a new client, for the right client, he'll make 0 sometimes on his first deal, if for the right client, because he understands the value of a lifetime client and where the opportunity could take him. He's taken as little as 0 to get clients. And he has some interesting take on that. You guys might want to follow him up and get some perspective on that when it goes with. And get all you can on every deal, but get every deal. That's what I was always taught.
I guess it depends on the person's attitude as well. If they're a jerk and you're not going to keep them on your boat after that transaction, say bye to them, it's like maybe there's not a long game involved with that particular client.
It's definitely a case-by-case basis on that too. And when you're first getting started, sometimes you got to take the hit to get the client on it. Tom Marie has a question above. I have a question regarding sellers. Do not want to, we took that one. Let's see. Tom Marie said, yes, I took the listing. Thanks. Kenneth says, thank you, Stephanie. You were so right. Get the listing and get paid. Everything else will work out. Beautiful. Jennifer Mendoza said, always a great job. Thank you for everybody. Happy Monday and have an awesome week. And Brian Conrad said, I appreciate your responses. I'm new. Yep. I'd like to get the experience under my belt. So great. So awesome. 102. We're done. We got all the questions. Stephanie, we might have to do a 120-day follow-up on this mastermind. We had so much interaction from the audience. Again, I think everybody got a lot of it. I know I did learn something today, and that's the great thing about real estate. You can be doing it for decades and still learn something new every single day. So I'm going to thank everybody for jumping on. I want to thank my dog for barking right at the time we were wrapping this up. And next Monday, I just want to say a lot of people are going to be at a conference, a real estate conference next Monday. Do we have a Monday topic? Who's in charge of that? Kim Campbell, do you know if we're doing something next Monday, or we?
No, we're going to have it all off. And then for the people who belong to the Grow Globe group, there's a big party on Tuesday, 6 to 8, and the location to be determined. So we're going to have
Great. So if you're going to be in Miami, there's going to be a party down there in Miami.
Tuesday.
And, I'll bring my man thongs so you guys can see me in that in Miami. I'll be done. Sorry, that was it. We just lost all the viewers. They're gone. They're all history on that. So
Tuesday
next Monday we are not on. That would be the 28th, because 2/3 of the group's going to be in Miami, I think. And then we'll be here for the following Monday. What's the date on that? Can you believe it's going to be November? November 4th.
It's the day before election day.
November 4th. November 4th. So it's great. Kenneth says he appreciates all of you giving so unselfishly. I love it. Kim Manson says, thank you, everyone. Jennifer and I will be in Miami. Can't wait to see you. So great. Everybody, we'll see you in 2 weeks. We'll have a great topic, some great experts to help you. And again, go to the website, suggest a topic, or volunteer your services to be on a panel. We'd love to see you talking, answering questions, helping everybody out. That's great. Let's go grow globally, grow your business, grow your network, grow your life so you can sell more properties, make more money, have more free time, and have more fun. We'll see all of you really soon. Great job by the panel, guys.
Bye, guys. Thanks. Have a great day.